With the new animated Amazon series, Robert Kirkman's superhero vision comes to life. Years after the massive success of The Walking Dead, we've got another high-octane, gore-filled fantasy world to explore. And if you thought there were some weird characters in other shows, you're totally not ready for what's in store here. Invincible is brutal and expansive and full of oddities. So let's get to it, the top 10 weirdest Invincible characters. Coming in at number 10, we've got Monster Girl. Once known as Monster Woman, this superhero has abilities that remind me a bit of Benjamin Button meets the Incredible Hulk. You heard me right, we've got a shapeshifter who can transform into an insanely powerful, monstrous version of herself, but each time she does it, she de-ages a little bit. So after a whole bunch of fights, the once adult hero became a teen who was then progressively become even younger. What some folks will do to fight crime. Although I'd say some people wouldn't see that reverse lifespan as such a bad thing, right? Especially if at some point you could hang up your transforming days and just live life out as a younger version of yourself. Her origin story is especially weird too. She had at one point been on a class trip to Europe soaking in the culture. During this expedition, she met a boy and fell in love, eventually sleeping with him. His grandmother saw them do the deed and did not approve. Instead of yelling at her grandson or telling the monster girl to get out of town, she decided to curse her instead. By casting a spell on a strand of her hair, the old woman imbued Monster Girl with her troll-like transformative appearance. As a young lass, this really upset her, especially as she could not control her powers at first. These days, the transformation is better understood and she has more refined control over it. Weirder still, she managed to mate with a female Flaxen while in her monster form, who would later give birth to a child. There's a lot going on, obviously. Coming in at number 9, we've got Donald Ferguson. Now, who does this guy remind you of? Be honest, I want to gauge your genuine reaction. I'll give you a few seconds to lock in your answer. Alright? He looks like Bobby Hill. Yep, now you'll never be able to look at this high-ranking member of the Global Defense Agency the same way again. Hell, it could very well be the son of Hank and Peggy Hill, all grown up and with some cybernetic enhancements and an identity change. The haircut, the way he carries himself, everything. Plus, get this, there's an episode of King of the Hill where Bobby is reading a knockoff Invincible comic called Invincible. I don't know if that means King of the Hill exists in an alternate version of our current universe or if they're in the Invincible universe and somebody's made a comic subtly ripping off some heroes. Either way, Ferguson raises a lot of questions and gives a lot of folks weird deja vu. And also he's full of robotic weapons and wants to karate chop kaiju. Good for him. Coming in number 8, we've got Best Tiger. Not Good Tiger, Best Tiger. What an absolute legend. A play on the blind swordsman, Best Tiger wears a blindfold over his eyes whenever he fights crime. And he is always fighting crime. Even if it doesn't look like he's fighting crime, he's fighting crime. This green and black clad gunslinger can hit any target from pretty much any distance with little to no effort. He once took out 12 targets with one ricocheting bullet. He's just so very intense. It's hard to say what his personality is at all because he's so committed to taking out bad guys and solving mysteries. It seems to be all he does, which for all the good guys tend to be pretty helpful. However, he's not the most fun to hang out with, nor does he provide too much in the way of interesting character development. But what he can do is determine that someone was taken over by a ghostly villain by the sound of wind whistling through her freshly shaved pits. Nobody does it like Best Tiger, and that's probably for the best. As long as he keeps doing Best Tiger stuff anyways. Coming in number 7, we've got Space Racer. There aren't too many folks out there with weapons that can kill Viltrumites. Space Racer is one of the lucky few, and his weapon does a whole lot more than taking out super powerful aliens. It can also shoot right through just about anything with crazy beams of power, and if anyone tries to take it from him, it'll end up right back in his hand. Pretty sweet, right? Plus, he's got a wicked space motorcycle, which is the reason behind his name. For ages, he would just whip through the galaxy. That is, until he fought Omni-Man and ended buried under rocks in an asteroid belt. 100 years after that fateful fight, Omni-Man returned with a new request and managed to yank Space Racer out of the rocks. He might not be the most outlandish character going, but where else are you going to find a space motorcycle riding, insanely powerful magic gunslinging green dude who can survive 100 years without food? Coming in at number 6, we've got A Sinclair. Super smart Ivy League types tend to be a bit much, eh? Well, most folks in academia have nothing on A Sinclair. He believes that human failings can be corrected through engineering and that folks can just be taken and changed into something else if it helps him achieve his goals. Of course, this leads him to kidnapping all sorts of folks and performing experiments on them in order to perfect his reanimen. These recreated humans were mind controlled by Sinclair, with the first one ending up suicidal after realizing what it had become. Jeez, DA, did you have to do him like that? On top of being a genius level intellect and a lunatic to boot, he actually ends up working with the good guys in the end, as his inventions are adopted by the Global Defense Agency, so I guess good on him. That still doesn't really make up for spitting in the face of the sanctity of human life, but hey, he essentially embodies the idea that if you're gonna make an omelet, you gotta crack a few eggs. Coming in at number 5, Alan the Alien. For years, folks on Earth assumed that Alan was an enemy. He would appear every 3 years or so and fight whoever came out of the woodwork. However, it didn't seem like he was down to kill anyone, and nobody could take him out themselves. Well, as it turned out, our one-eyed friend wasn't here just to fight a bunch of people, he was there to test the defenders of Earth, among other planets. After taking on Omni-Man for ages, he got to go head-to-head with Invincible. Instead of trying to end him though, Earth's greatest hope decided to talk with the extraterrestrial being. In doing so, they realized they had nothing to worry about when it came to dealing with each other. From then on, Alan proved to be an excellent friend and ally. He played a major role in all sorts of conflicts, especially when it came to dealing with the ever-dangerous Viltrumites. With all sorts of classic superpowers from insane strength, supernatural speed, healing abilities, and more, Alan is a force to be reckoned with. Plus, he has the innate ability to lead folks wherever he goes, which comes in handy. And to add in a little bit of extra fun, he's voiced by none other than Seth Rogen in the animated series. Nice. Coming in at number 4, Science Dog. Hell yeah, just listen to that name, how can you not love it? Science Dog is exactly what he sounds like, a superhero dog with powers thanks to science. It's so simple, so beautiful. Funnily enough, Science Dog is a well-known comic in the world of Invincible. In fact, it was Mark's favorite superhero growing up, and there are plenty of references to our experimental canine throughout the comic. Even though he's a fictional character in this universe, and even ends up becoming Seance Dog in the Amazon adaptation, he does make an interesting appearance in the comics. An alien decides to disguise himself as the altered Scotty and contacts Mark, asking for help saving his planet. A great disguise for sure. So even though Science Dog in his actual canon comic form doesn't make any direct impact on the Invincible universe, there is plenty to enjoy about his presence. Coming in number 3, we've got Wolfman. Usually werewolves are portrayed as the bad guy. They stalk the night, hunting unsuspecting prey and howling at the moon. From time to time, they'll leave a poor sap alive who will at some point become a werewolf too. It's a classic horror tale for sure. There are exceptions though. Teen Wolf is one, those werewolves from What We Do in the Shadows could be another, and Wolfman could end up on that list too. Gary Hampton, CEO of Hampton Industries, was out camping with his family when what seemed to be a bear attacked him. He healed up pretty quick, and it became very apparent that it was a much more supernatural creature. Discovering that he was now a lycanthrope, Gary decided that instead of giving into primal instincts, he would use his newfound powers for good. For a while, he teamed up with a vampire named Zechariah, and eventually Wolfman found his way into the Invincible universe. That's right, after aiding Adam Eve in a fight, he joined forces with Invincible and a bunch of other heroes to take down the Emperor. Isn't that fun when things work out like that? Coming in at number 2, we've got Angstrom Levy. Just looking at this guy paints a pretty vivid picture, right? This is a mad scientist who has seen way more than he probably should have. He figured out that he had the ability to travel between parallel universes and worked up his proficiency over time. Eventually, he managed to find out about all the alternate Angstrom Levies and recruited them in one way or another. Then, using the brain power of the Mahler twins, he had machines constructed that would download the knowledge of all its counterparts into his own brain. As it was happening though, Invincible crashed through the wall and started fighting the Mahlers. Levy hopped out of his machine to save Invincible, but that caused it to melt down. It exploded, and although the transfer was technically complete, Levy was horribly disfigured and his personality was irreversibly altered. Now he is a violent, super smart maniac with a hate-on for Invincible. Poor guy, but he kind of brought it on himself. And finally, at number 1, we've got Sequids. Parasitic alien cephalopods are never going out of style, are they? These creatures take over people's minds and then connect to a hive mind of sorts. Upon arriving on Mars, Invincible realizes that the human astronauts there are susceptible to these horrid little things' influence. They want nothing more than to conquer, which could be very bad news if they ever made it to Earth. However, as nasty and dangerous as they are, they're unable to bond with Martians or Viltrumites. So they're a big pain and cause a lot of problems for astronauts, but can't be too big of a threat, right? So there you have it, 10 of the oddest, strangest, and most out there characters from a series jam-packed with crazy superheroes. What did you think of the list? Do you agree with my picks? Who is the weirdest character from Invincible? Make sure you let me know down in the comments. Speaking of comments, nope, I don't have any comments today. Never mind. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.